Wow. Okay. And there we are. We're live a lot faster than I expected.
Actually,
Welcome,
unusual.
everybody. Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to another Marketing Momentum with Charles and Deborah. Hi, Charles.
Hi, Deb. Hi, everybody.
I delayed our start. And Charles, I hope you don't mind. I didn't ask if you mind if I do this, but I'm just going to do a quick shout out to, I was going to say Michael, the producer, but I'm going to modify that. I'm going to say to both of our spouses and our families. Technically, the producer of Marketing Momentum, as far as the back end and all the important stuff and sound and audio, visual, everything. My husband, Michael, he usually does the setup with Charles. Of course, Charles is such a pro, he doesn't need a setup. So, and you guys missed it. I think it would have been great for like hidden camera or something, or if they still had, what was that? Yeah, you're on candid camera or whatever. But Charles was very patient with me as I dropped the less than 1 week old headphones that my husband just bought for me. Long story short, our producer was not here, and so I tried to fill both shoes. And Charles too, and your wife as well, and your family, and Michael. Yeah. Just a little shout out that, hey, we appreciate those people that help us to be able to do things like this. So. And you know what? That's actually timely with the U.S. Thanksgiving coming up next week already, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So a topic, since I've been calling myself lately, my term is half-breed. I know that's not very considerate. I'm about to say U.S. and Canada, so no offense to either country, but a little bit half and half. So I got I don't know if you call it an advantage, but I celebrated the Canadian Thanksgiving as well as U.S. Thanksgiving. So you get two big family meals and family coming over. That for some people that could be pro, con, whatever. But thinking that way, I was, sometimes I have to remind myself, Charles, it's like next week, it's really easy. You have friends. Hey, you might be in another state, but I know that that's still Thanksgiving there as far as a holiday that's usually recognized, a holiday here. But for instance, half my family's in Canada. They know about it because half the family is in Canada, are also half American. And you don't want to see my family tree. It does, at least it at least it doesn't spork, but still it kind of goes all over. But there's people we have to think about, like we do a lot of business with India these days and other countries that don't have the same holidays. What do we do as internet marketers to prepare for those?
Yeah, that's a good question because, I think about things like, this particular holiday, and especially when, you sit down and you write, an email, or you put something on your Facebook page that says, Happy Thanksgiving, or whatever you say, understanding that you may or may not have half the audience who are looking at it or reading it, that may not just apply to, right? And so I think it's a little more than, what I've tried to do, maybe not so successfully, say, well, for those of you who celebrate, but I think, what you're applying is, it has to be more than that. While at the same time, though, you can't celebrate everybody's Thanksgiving, right? So, so
that's a good point.
Right, this is like our Thanksgiving. And I guess if you sort of found out about, I guess there's Boxing Day in some places, there's other stuff in other places. You find out about that, you can say Happy, Boxing Day, but if you start doing that, you're doing that 365 days a year. So I think it's really trying to acknowledge that this is, our place, and maybe even trying to do a little more about, why we even celebrating it, why we celebrate personally, and then why it is.
That's a good point. Because as soon as you said 365, I thought I have enough trouble keeping track of the holidays in this country, and then add to that, I try to keep track of the holidays in Canada. I mean, I grew up celebrating Boxing Day. I realized that my neighbors didn't. But that's a Canadian holiday. That's, of course it's Boxing Day. The only thing is, watch if you're celebrating it. By the way, I don't know if I have this correct. I should look this up. And speaking of looking up, I'm noticing another, okay, there we go. Just got rid of the little green spot on the side. Boxing Day, at least the way it was explained to me, and if it's incorrect, then it's come down the tree that way. But the idea is that if you didn't like a gift, you you take it back. You box it up and you take it back. And so that was Boxing Day, was the day after, what we call Christmas. So if you're going to do that, make sure that you like keep track of it. So you're giving it to somebody that's not in the same family. So, you would know this, Charles, because you know me, but I had a database that I kept track of. And I hope my family, I so hope they're not watching this one, but it's like, all right, we got this from Mike's side of the family. So therefore I'm going to give it to someone on my side, my versa.
Well, I mean, I have somebody in my house that doesn't keep track like that, but has to keep track of stuff because, well, I mean, just from the gift giving standpoint, right? If we didn't have my spouse, right? We'd never give anything to anybody because I already think we gave it to them. So typically somebody says something to me like, did we do something for so-and-so? I said, yeah, we did. Of course we did. And typically that's 4 or 5 years ago. So, I mean, so somebody has to keep track of that stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good point because before the whole internet thing, I used to love sending out cards. And I'm actually just a little bit relieved that I don't do that anymore. So yeah, Charles, you guys are not forgotten. I don't actually send out cards. So you're not being...
I mean, yeah, I would never know.
Isn't that what Facebook is for? So you can send the little greetings that way?
Yes, it is, right, yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of organization involved. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of organization in other holidays in other countries that we don't even know about. Unless somebody actually sends me a message on Skype and says, sorry, I was gone, we're having this holiday. It's like, hey, no complaints, whatever holiday you're having, go celebrate it, enjoy it, have fun. Or even different terminology for, what was it? I can't remember the term. It was a friend in India that said, what do you call it? I think he called it his, was it marriage vacation? I'm sorry for all of you in India. I don't know what the term is, and I don't know if that's an adaptable term. He was trying to state what we call it in America. I thought we call it honeymoon, but unless there's another term.
The other thing, and I think about this a couple of times, I guess the last couple of years, I probably, when I first got started, maybe 2010, 2011, I would be a little sheepish about sending out a promotional email. On the 11th, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, somebody said, Charles, no, I mean, probably half the world doesn't even know about it. It's a work day for them. Thursday's a work day. And I said, guys, you can acknowledge that, but half the world's a work day. So you can either just say, well, you're just not doing it, but you're only not doing it not because you're going to offend everybody. You're really doing it because you just don't want to.
That's a good point that you probably even, you could, back to that kind of that 365 thing and the whole, you could drive yourself absolutely crazy trying to figure out who you're going to offend because of a holiday.
Absolutely. Right. And I think the other thing too is, I think I've tried to learn not to be so, and not that I ever was. I don't think I've ever been thin-skinned about holidays and about, who's celebrating, who's not. But I've even kind of taken a step back about, even those things, because I think, as you said, we're now not just working with people, in our neck of the woods. We're working with people who are everywhere, and they're just some people who, even if they do have a holiday, they don't celebrate it, and they're just they're just not, whatever the word is, celebratory. I don't know what the word is, but they're just not into that stuff.
And maybe they're actually thankful, and I'm not saying thankful, it's not a pun because of Thanksgiving next week, but thankful when they can just participate with other countries and not have to acknowledge, the holiday. I've heard of a lot of people that, especially if they've lost loved ones, or that they would just rather not acknowledge a holiday and just go on with life as normal.
Yeah, and I do. I think the place where I've kind of settled in on, I think your original question was, how do you do this as a information person or internet marketer? I think it's really just kind of putting down the keyboard and just walking away from it and just letting the chips fall. You know what I mean? Just kind of, not everything is kind of like has to be a big deal, right? I'm going to celebrate Thanksgiving. Well, it's not as if I don't put it on social media, I still celebrate Thanksgiving, right? So I mean, it's just kind of like, so you can really do it best you can on social media. Um, I think it's just kind of doing what you do now. And then if you decide to do something promotional, if you decide not to, if you decide not to write a post, if you decide, I mean, there were years where I would work up until the turkey was ready. I mean, they were up. I mean, my wife and the girls, they would be kind of working on something until it was my part. Right, that my part was to kind of work with the turkey fryer and the whole deal. But until my part came, I just kind of did my own thing. Right, they were doing their thing, and I came and did my thing when it was time. So I think it's all kind of individualistic. I think now with social media though, there's kind of this pressure where you feel like you've gotta do something public. You've gotta let people know what you're doing. And I think at this point, myself personally, I'm resisting that part of it. I'm not going to that point with everybody else. I mean, the internet's going to be the internet, but I just at this point, and that could change, right? I don't consider myself above it or self-righteous. I'm just resisting, having to say I'm celebrating to make it a real holiday.
I think that's a really good, that's a good example for all you listening to what Charles just said. I think that's really good because you give yourself that chance to be free and to really actually enjoy the holiday rather than this almost force-fed, like, oh no, I didn't. And I've actually had this feeling, but it's not really propelled by anything marketing related. It's more so the, like, for example, Canadian Thanksgiving. It's this desire to since I shouldn't say I can't, I don't necessarily have the time to go call up every single relative I have in Canada. And God forbid you call them all up and then you forget one. So in that sense, Facebook is very convenient. So, I never thought about it before Charles told us listening to you, but it's like, what is she doing? Is she trying to acknowledge that this is a holiday, so therefore she's not working, so we shouldn't reach out to her? No, actually, if I say Happy Canadian Thanksgiving, no offense to the rest of the world, I'm not saying that as a marketing message. I'm actually literally saying that to family members. It's like, hey, I hope that we didn't personally celebrate it. Unlike the family I grew up in where we did celebrate both of them. Maybe I'm lazy or maybe I'm too busy doing internet marketing, but I only do the bird once a year instead of doing it twice. So it's more of just an acknowledgement to family to say, hey, I was thinking of you. I know this is a holiday that technically I don't know if you call it by birthright or whatever you want to call it, but that we share, but I didn't personally celebrate it, not because I'm American and because I'm snobby, stuck up, whatever, but just because I didn't,
Right. Yeah, and I think some of it is too, we don't, I think we kind of, because we work on the internet, I think we look at social media differently. Like we're a little jaded. Mm-hmm. And so, nobody's probably even thinking about that. They just go on there and they just put Happy Thanksgiving on there and they're not even concerned about it. I think, people who work on it, and we're going through all these, well, how am I going to say it? Who am I going to, I think it's, for those of us who are kind of into this, I think we're having hang-ups. Other people just use Facebook just to be using it, just because they're bored. They don't have any hang-ups. Right? I don't care why they do it. There needs a reason.
That's a good point. That's a good distinction. That's okay. I spent way too much time doing research this week. I'm trying to think of thesis and hypothesis and the research question, but yeah, Charles can definitely tell when I'm in his zone on that one because it comes out. And as much as I try to stop, some of my tweets come out and it's like, stop it. No one's gonna know what you're talking about on that tweet. But another thing I was saying about the holiday is now I learned this when I was 19. Granted, it's in California. Everything was about being politically correct. And especially, I don't know if the rest of you Californians noticed this. And yes, I can talk. I don't know what this day today. It's probably dropping my headphones. It's got my mouth affected. But anyway, the politically correct aspect of it almost became a requirement after the LA riots. And I know that was a while ago now. Now it's like, my kids are what? This is like a decade before they were born. But it did, before that, it was like, oh, come on, you're being politically correct. And we're so sick of the PC and the whole thing. But after that, I noticed almost a requirement for it in order to keep the peace. It's like, hey, it doesn't matter if you subscribe to being politically correct. You're going to behave in a politically correct manner in order to keep the peace in LA. And believe me, compared to what we had during that time, and yes, I just proved that I was old enough to experience it, but it was strange. You know, having a curfew, the whole thing, it felt like finally I understood what was going on, just to a little small degree, all the stuff I'd heard like in the Middle East and so forth. But anyway, another topic. But during that time was when, like right before the riots, when PC was not very popular, not that it's popular now, that one of my bosses said, we can't send out Merry Christmas to all the guests because we may have some Jewish constituents, so we want to say Happy Holidays. Now, I just adopted that, so now every year I say Happy Holidays. I'm not following any kind of rules. I'm not even trying to force myself to be politically correct. It's just a part of my lingo. Now I just say Happy Holidays. But now we have other holidays there at the same time, and I hope that we as Americans have become more sensitive to, it's not all about us and everyone having to celebrate Christmas the way we do here, but to realize that people have different traditions, they have different days, they had different holidays. And that's just one area to realize, hey, there's other people out there besides us Americans.
What you ultimately hope is that, in some way it comes back full circle, and now people can be a little more free to kind of celebrate it the way they want. Because I guess, when everybody was kind of into it because it was Christmas, there was this unspoken pressure to do sort of things like this one particular way and this one particular kind of gift and all this other stuff. And I think now that, first of all, people are, not everybody's going to be into Christmas, and they're open about that. What I'm hoping eventually comes back around is that people are cool if I say Merry Christmas if you celebrate, and I do celebrate it, and you're okay with that I still say Merry Christmas even if you're not into it. And I'm okay with it if you say Merry whatever, right? And we're just okay that way. We're probably a long way from there. I think what we're doing now is we're sort of not saying anything to sort of avoid offending anybody. And so what I'm hoping eventually is we kind of come back to, and if you're celebrating, that's cool, right? That's not my bag. That's fine,
I like what you described, Charles, as far as getting to a point, because I miss the removing all of it, because there is, I worked in, and by the way, I did want to add kind of a disclaimer as far as to my Jewish friends, I didn't say you're any less American. I mean, I'm throwing out labels out there really without any thought before the labels that are popping out there. So I'm not excluding you from any particular group on that one, but I would call it a blessing because I really enjoyed what I learned, but working in an office that was almost entirely comprised of people of the Jewish faith. And I sang at one of they called it holiday party, sang at a holiday party, and I changed the Christmas song, the ending. So instead of Merry Christmas, I sang Happy Hanukkah. And then there's a spot where you say it again. And I said Happy Holiday. And they got a kick out of the fact that I changed the words to actually honor that they celebrate Hanukkah. And that was just a really good feeling to be able to share.
Yeah. I mean, I think trying to, what they say, it's, we're all global now. It's just trying to, with the time that you have, trying to learn. And then, I mean, I can, if I'm with somebody and that's whatever their thing is, right? I'm gonna do their thing, right? I may not be, if it's religious, I probably won't do it. But if it's something that, I can kind of get into, I'm gonna try to get into their thing. At the same time, though, they don't have to get into mine. So
right. That's a good way to have it, though, where you're putting yourself out there. If I'm understanding what you're saying, Charles, saying, hey, I'm not going to be offended, and I'm not, both ways. It's like whichever way you want it. I'm not offended. You're not offending me. Hopefully I'm not offending you. Let's just find a happy medium and that's what I felt at this place where I worked. If I did say something about Christmas, they knew I was Christian. So they knew that was just a slip. I didn't say Merry Christmas to try to offend anyone. I did the first year go in there because I used to go all out, like in the office. I had pooping reindeer. I know that's probably offensive to somebody out there, but I thought it was actually kind of funny, and it was like jelly beans. I think I had a pooping penguin too. I don't know if they're Pez or what they were, but all right, I have a weird sense of humor. I thought it was kind of cute, you know, it's candy is coming out. But somebody warned me before fortunately, they could kind of see that revving up. It's like, probably not real cool if you've got like, Santa Claus all over and all the, stockings hanging and stuff. This is because it's not just about the coworkers. It's also about clients that come in because they tend to, hey, they're going to the same synagogue and so forth. So I did kind of ease up on the over Christmas oriented celebratory. It became a little bit more blue and white in favor of Hanukkah, but still there was that goodwill. We still had candy in the office. We had a lot of fun, but we were able to find that happy medium.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kind of missed that. Wow, I'm getting nostalgic. I should stop before I have kitty cat ears and tears coming down on this one. But any other tips that we can think of? It seems like if I sum up, like what you're saying, Charles, is kind of don't put too much pressure on yourself. Live what's comfortable, enjoy the time with your family, your friends. And also globally, we should learn how not to put that much pressure on each other.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly how I would have summed it up.
And the other thing I learned from Charles, or at least he brought it up, and it's like, oh yeah, right. But the idea that there's probably, well, maybe not every single day. I don't know. I haven't compared calendars, but I'm sure that there's somebody's birthday or anniversary or holiday in some country every day of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So you will go crazy if you try to honor all of those, And I think, so that means that the next marketing momentum is on Thanksgiving, and I imagine that we'll take our own advice and spend time with our families.
Yeah.
And so that means that we'll see all of you 2 weeks from today. Right. The next marketing momentum. For those of you who are in the U.S. or for those of you in any other country that wants to share the holiday, by all means, go ahead, and happy Thanksgiving to you for the next week.
Yeah. Okay, bye-bye,
Thank you, Carl.